Level 1, the number. You're 22 years old. You have $214 in your checking account, a laptop that overheats, and a dream that feels embarrassingly large for someone in your position. But you write it down anyway. $1 million by 30. Not because someone told you it was possible. Because everything around you told you it wasn't, and something inside you needed to prove that voice wrong. You don't tell anyone. Not your parents. Not your friends. You've seen what happens when people share big dreams in small rooms. The dream gets smaller to fit the room. So you keep it private. You keep it sacred. And you start. The first year is almost romantic. You're working 2 jobs, sleeping 6 hours, eating whatever's cheap and fast. You open a spreadsheet every Sunday night and watch the numbers move. Slowly. Painfully. But they move. And that movement feels like proof. Proof that you're different. Proof that the life you imagined isn't just imagination. Level 1 feels like being chosen. That's exactly why it's dangerous. Level 2, the obsession. By 24, you've crossed your first $50,000. It doesn't feel like $50,000. It feels like a signal. The signal says, keep going. Go harder. Go faster. Don't stop now, you're just getting started. So you cut everything that isn't the goal. You stop going out on weekends. Not because you can't afford it, you can now, but because every hour out feels like an hour stolen from the machine you're building. Your friends stop inviting you. At first they ask. Then they assume. Then they forget. You tell yourself this is the cost of ambition. You tell yourself they don't understand. You tell yourself you can reconnect later, when you're done. You don't realize yet that, later, is a word that quietly eats years. Your relationship starts showing cracks around this time. Not dramatic cracks. Quiet ones. The kind where someone stops telling you about their day because you're always half present, always mentally somewhere else, always running numbers in your head during dinner. She says, you seem far away lately. You say, I'm just focused. Both are true. Neither of you understand what that means yet. By 25, you've built something real. A business, a portfolio, a system. People who knew you at 22 look at you differently now. There's a new respect in their eyes. A slight distance. You mistake the distance for admiration. It's not always admiration. Level 3, the acceleration. Something shifts at 26. You stop working hard and start working smart, which really means you've learned how to make other people's effort multiply your own. You hire your first employee. Then 2. Then 5. The money starts moving faster than your effort. This is the moment most people dream about. It feels less like winning and more like standing on a moving platform that you can't step off of. Because now there are people depending on your decisions. Rent depends on you. Families depend on you. A machine with your name on it is running, and if you slow down, even slightly, it wobbles. You stop sleeping well around this time. Not because you're anxious. You tell yourself you're not anxious. But your body is keeping score even when your mind refuses to. You hit $300,000 in net worth at 27. You buy better clothes. You move to a better apartment. You get a car that makes people look twice in parking lots. And here's the thing nobody warns you about. The external upgrade doesn't touch the internal state. You sit in the nicer apartment feeling the exact same feeling you had in the old one. The ceiling is higher. The anxiety is identical. If you've made it this far, comment what level you feel like you're actually on right now. The answer might surprise you. Level 4, the performance. At 28, you learn something uncomfortable. Success is partly a performance. Not fake. But curated. You learn what to say in rooms. You learn how to signal competence before you speak. You learn the language of confidence, not the feeling of it, the language. And here's the disturbing part, it works. People respond to the performance as if it's the reality. And slowly, you start building an identity around the performance rather than around the actual you. The actual you is still that 22-year-old with $214, terrified and hoping. But nobody in these rooms knows that person. They only know the version you've built. At networking events, you shake hands with people who have more money than you, and you feel neither impressed nor intimidated. You feel assessed. Measured. Like livestock at a premium auction. You win the assessment. You always win now. But winning it feels hollow in a way you can't explain to anyone, because the explanation would require admitting something you're not ready to admit. Your relationship ends at 28. Not with a fight. That's what surprises you most. It ends with a quiet conversation on a Tuesday night where she says, "I feel like I'm dating your ambition, not you." And you want to argue. But you don't have the counterargument. Because some part of you knows she's right. You process it for approximately 3 days. Then the machine pulls you back in. The meetings, the decisions, the momentum. You bury the grief under productivity. It's the most expensive thing you've ever done, and it doesn't show up in any spreadsheet. Level 5, the crossing. Your 29th birthday. You check the account. You check the portfolio. You run the numbers. You're at $840,000. You are 8 months away from the number you wrote down when you were 22. This should feel like standing at the edge of a mountain you've been climbing for 7 years, looking out at the view. It feels like checking a box. You sit with that feeling for a long moment. Then you close the app and go back to work. The crossing happens on a Wednesday morning in March, 3 months before you turn 30. You get a notification. An account update. A number with a comma in the right place, and enough digits after it that the math works. $1 million. You are 29 years and 9 months old. You sit at your desk. You don't celebrate. You've planned this moment in your head 100 times, the champagne, the call to your parents, the feeling of arrival, but when it actually comes, you feel something strange. You feel nothing. Not happy. Not relieved. Not proud. Just, nothing. Like arriving at a destination after a very long drive and realizing you don't actually know why you wanted to come here. You text 2 people. They respond with fire emojis. You put your phone face down. And you sit there in the silence of your achievement, wondering what is wrong with you. Subscribe now. Because what happens next is the part everyone forgets to talk about. Level 6, the audit. The first thing you do after crossing $1 million is what any financially literate person would do. You audit it. And here's where the story changes. The number looks clean. It always looks clean on the surface. But when you go underneath it, when you really look, it starts to fracture. The business is worth $600,000 on paper. But paper value and liquid value are different universes. If the business slowed, if a key client walked, if the market shifted, that number could move fast and not in your direction. The investment portfolio is $280,000. Solid. But locked. Tied up in assets that take time to move. Liquid cash. Actual money you could touch tomorrow. $94,000. Less taxes owed on last year's earnings, $22,000. Effective liquid position, $72,000. You are a millionaire with $72,000 of actual freedom. That's not a criticism of the wealth. It's a reality about what wealth actually is, which is something most people never learn until they're inside it. Because here's what nobody explains when they sell you the dream. $1 million in 1990 was real freedom. $1 million in today's world, in a major city, with a business to run, with inflation compounding everything you buy, with health insurance you pay out of pocket, with no pension, no safety net, no employer. It's a foundation. Not a finish line. And you built your entire identity around a finish line that turned out to be a foundation. This is where success stops feeling like success. This is where the real climb begins. And you didn't sign up for this part. Level 7, the comparison trap. You start noticing the world differently now. You're in rooms with people who have 10 million. 50 million. Some who have crossed a number you can't yet fully picture. And the feeling you get in those rooms is not inspiration. It's a quiet, corrosive feeling that you don't have a respectable name for. You know you've built something real. You know 7 years ago you had nothing. You know, intellectually, that you should feel proud. But pride is a difficult feeling to sustain in a room where everyone has more. The comparison trap is invisible until you're inside it. Then it's everywhere. The guy across the table sold his company at 31 for 8 figures. The woman next to her built a portfolio that generates more passively per month than you earn actively. The kid down the hall is 26 and already past where you are. You start measuring your life against people who aren't measuring their life against you. They're not thinking about you at all. But you are thinking about them constantly. You used to compare yourself to your peers from college, people working regular jobs, living regular lives. You were so far ahead of that world that the comparison felt comfortable. Now you've moved into a different world, and you're behind again. The poverty isn't in your account. The poverty is in the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. And no amount of money fixes a gap that's made of psychology. Level 8, the cost inventory. Somewhere around this time, you do something you've never done before. You sit down and you take a different kind of inventory. Not financial. Personal. You make a list, not for anyone else, just for yourself, of what the last 7 years actually cost. The relationship that ended quietly on a Tuesday. The friendships that dissolved so slowly you didn't notice until they were already gone. Your father's 60th birthday dinner that you missed for a deal that, in retrospect, could have waited. The Saturday mornings you chose laptops over everything else. The version of yourself that used to read for pleasure, used to play music, used to exist outside of productivity, and the gradual disappearance of that person, replaced by an optimized machine that produces excellent business results. The hobbies that felt like luxuries you couldn't afford when you were building. And now you can afford them. But you've forgotten how to want them. You try to take a vacation at 30. You book a week in Portugal. The kind of trip that looks incredible on paper. You spend the first 2 days unable to relax. Your nervous system doesn't know what to do without urgency. You check your phone more than you ever did at home. You feel guilty every hour you're not working, not because someone is demanding it, but because you rewired yourself so completely that rest feels like a malfunction. By day 4 you're half present. By day 6 you're ready to go home. You come back tan and empty. A friend asks if you had a great time. You say, yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. You barely saw it. Level 9, the real poverty. Here's the truth that the $1 million story never tells you. Poverty isn't only the absence of money. Poverty is the absence of time you control. Poverty is relationships that eroded while you were optimizing. Poverty is a body that stored 7 years of cortisol and is now sending you bills you can't pay with a wire transfer. Poverty is looking at your calendar and seeing no white space, not because you're behind, but because you built a life that requires your constant presence to function. Poverty is achieving the dream and realizing the dream was designed by a 22-year-old who didn't know what he actually needed. Real wealth, the kind that doesn't show up in net worth calculators, is waking up with time that belongs to you. It's having people in your life who know the real you, not the curated version. It's a body that isn't running on fumes. It's the ability to be present in a moment without calculating its opportunity cost. You have $1 million. You are rich by the world's definition. And you are standing in a kind of poverty that has no name in the financial literacy content you consumed for 7 years. Because nobody made a YouTube video called, How to Not Lose Yourself While Gaining Everything. Nobody built a course on emotional liquidity. Nobody taught you that the hardest asset to build is a life that feels worth living from the inside. You win publicly. You are quietly calculating what you lost privately. Level 10, the rebuild. The real story doesn't end at the million. The real story starts the day you sit in your apartment, the nice one, with the high ceilings and the view, and decide to rebuild. Not the business. Not the portfolio. Yourself. It starts small. Uncomfortably small for someone used to operating at scale. You call a friend you haven't spoken to in 2 years. The conversation is awkward for the first 10 minutes. Then something loosens. You talk for 2 hours. You remember who you were before the machine. You start therapy. Not because you're broken, you've resisted that framing for years, but because you've realized that optimizing externally while ignoring internally is the most expensive mistake a person can make. You set a rule, 1 day per week where you don't open your laptop before noon. It sounds small. The first 3 times, you break it. The 4th time, you sit with the discomfort and let it pass. By the 6th week, Saturday mornings feel like something you almost remember from childhood. The business doesn't collapse. That surprises you. You thought your constant presence was the thing keeping it alive. It wasn't. The systems were. You built better than you gave yourself credit for. You start asking a different question. Not, how do I grow this to 2 million? But, what kind of life do I actually want to live? And what does financial success need to look like to support that life, not replace it? The question is uncomfortable because it doesn't have a spreadsheet answer. But it's the first honest question you've asked in 7 years. Level 11, what they don't tell you in the content. The Millionaire content shows you the scoreboard. It never shows you the locker room. It shows you the car, the apartment, the account screenshot, the freedom lifestyle. It doesn't show you the Wednesday at 2 a.m. when the anxiety sits on your chest like a physical weight and you can't explain it to anyone because from the outside, your life looks like proof that the system works. It doesn't show you the strange loneliness of outgrowing the people you grew up with without yet belonging in the world you're entering. It doesn't show you standing at your own milestone, feeling nothing, wondering if you're defective or if the milestone was always going to feel like this. Here's what's real. Money is a tool. A powerful tool. A necessary tool. An important tool. But it is not a feeling. It cannot manufacture presence. It cannot retrofit connection into a life that was designed to exclude it. It cannot retroactively attend the dinners you skipped, say the things you didn't say, or give back the version of yourself you optimized away in pursuit of a number. The number matters. The number alone is not enough. And anyone who has genuinely crossed it, not the people performing the life online, but the people who actually got there and sat with the silence of arrival, will tell you this privately, even when they won't say it publicly. Because saying it publicly feels like ingratitude. Like telling people the ocean is beautiful but cold. The ocean is beautiful. It's also cold. Both are true. Level 12, the final truth. You are 30. You have $1 million. You are in the process of learning, slowly, awkwardly, without a course or a roadmap, how to become wealthy in ways that actually matter to the hours of your life. You are rebuilding relationships that you quietly neglected. You are learning how to rest without guilt. You are building a business that can run without you at the center of it, so that your life is the point, and the business is the vehicle, not the other way around. You are asking harder questions than you've ever asked. Not, how do I 10x this? But, is this how I want to spend the next 10 years? What would it look like if I slowed down and went deeper instead of faster and further? Who am I without the identity of someone building towards something? These questions don't have clean answers. That's exactly why they matter. The version of you at 22 needed the goal. The goal created the discipline, the hunger, the drive. The goal was necessary. But you have to be careful, deeply, deliberately careful, not to let the goal consume the life it was supposed to build. Money is not the enemy. Mistaking money for the destination is. Real freedom isn't a number. Real freedom is a morning where you wake up and the day belongs to you. Where your relationships are genuine. Where your body isn't broadcasting years of suppressed stress. Where your identity isn't the business, isn't the portfolio, isn't the version of you that performs well in rooms. Real freedom is knowing who you are without the scoreboard. That's what you're building now. It's harder than the million. It doesn't have a notification. Nobody sends fire emojis when you finally sit still and feel okay. But it's the only wealth that actually lives inside your life instead of existing parallel to it. Somewhere tonight, someone younger than you is opening a spreadsheet. Maybe they're 21. Maybe 23. They've written a number at the top. They're hungry in the way only people with nothing to lose can be hungry. And that hunger is real, and it's powerful, and it will take them places. But nobody is going to tell them what the places feel like on the inside. Nobody is going to warn them that you can win the game and still feel like you lost something essential. Nobody is going to say, build the number, yes, but don't let the building cost you the life the number is supposed to fund. The machine is waiting for them. It's patient. It always is. And somewhere, a slightly older version of them is sitting in a quiet apartment, sipping coffee on a Saturday morning with no alarm, with no meeting, with no urgent decision. Learning, slowly, for the first time in years, what it actually feels like to be present inside their own life. That's the level nobody talks about. That's the one that changes everything. Comment if this hit closer than you expected. Subscribe. Because the ladders nobody shows you are the ones that matter most.